Hi folks, I thought I'd do a playthrough of Iroquois versus the Huron, the Beaver Wars, and I think I'll just jump right into it. Everything's all set up. You get 2 French aid, 2 supply, 2 spirit, and the Iroquois are all set. And first card is Beaver Wars. Beaver Wars are French Iroquois wars were a series of conflicts during the 17th century in North America. All Iroquois will advance 1, and my supply goes up by 1, and the Mohawk and the Seneca are going to be -1 on moving them back. I think I'll move the Oneida, and I was not successful. It's got to be 2 or higher. I'll try the Oneida again, and this time it works. So whenever you push them back, you get a free item from the cup, and you get a trade item, and I have picked up a gun. And with the trade items, you can take them to the trade shop, and you can trade them in for different items during the game once you accumulate a whole bunch. Second card, enemies. The Iroquois were pitted against the Huron, Northern Algonquin, and their French allies. The Cayuga and the Oneida are both going to move. Spirit goes down 1. Supply goes down 1. French aid goes down 1. And dice roll modifier is -1 on all the Iroquois. So I think what I'll do is I'll try and push up the French aid. I just need higher than a 2. And I rolled a 1. I'll try that again. Another 1, so I don't get anything there. Third card, fur trade. The Iroquois wanted to expand their territory, increase their fur trade with Europeans. The Oneida and the Mohawk are both going to advance. Spirit goes up by 1, and all Iroquois have a -1 modifier. Oh, geez. Don't like rolling with the -1. Because if I don't get it, I'm going to lose a gun. So for this one, I would need, even if I rolled a 3, it would roll back to a 2, so I'd need a 4, 5, 6. So it's only 50-50. So I think what I'll do is I will go for French aid for 1, and I'm above. And my second choice as a turn, I think I am going to bring the French in, and I'm going to put the French here as support. So you get support from the Algonquin, the Montagnais, and the Etchemin that you can bring in and put on. So for the Mohawk to get there, they're going to have to roll higher than a 4. They have to defeat the French. So sort of a stall tactic. I like to save it for here, but I didn't want to try a modifier. Next one, 5 tribes. The Iroquois were a confederacy of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and the Seneca tribes. The Oneida and the Cayuga are both going to advance. +1 on all my resources, which is good. And Oneida is a +1 dice roll modifier, so I'm going to try and move them back. I get a +1, so a 6. I move them back, and I also get a trade item from the cup. And I pick up a gun, and with 2 guns I can increase my military by 1, or I can put a gun on the map and increase the DRM by +1. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these 2 guns, and I'm going to put the modifier right here. So when the Seneca get there, they are going to run into a bit of problems. And was that my 2 moves? Wasn't keeping track. And I think I'll move the Oneida back a second time. Yes, and I do move them back, so I'll get another item, trade item. This time I pick up another gun. That's good. Next card, the Iroquois. The Iroquois inhabited the shores of Lake Ontario, the St. Lawrence River, and parts of upstate New York. The Cayuga and the Seneca are going to move, and all resources go down by 1, and no change on the DRM. So I'm gonna try and push the Seneca back. I get a +1 DRM. Now, as long as that gun is successful, it stays. Once I lose, the gun goes away. So I +1 on the gun. I roll a 3 + 1 is a 4. It is a 3, so I do move them back, which means I also get a trade item. So I will pick up a blanket, and I think I will move the Cayuga back 1 and a 5. So I do move them back, and I get another item for trade, and I pick up a beaver. So I have a beaver, a blanket, and a gun. Next card, Champlain. 1603, the French explorer Champlain formed an alliance against the Iroquois. It would not train guns with them. Champlain then went to work with the Huron against the Iroquois and killed 2 chiefs with his gun. And the story is, he shot from long range, he killed the 2 chiefs, and the Iroquois had never seen a gun before, so they were shocked and they fled right away. So the Mohawk and the Seneca are going to move up, and all my resources go up by 1. So the Mohawk advance and the Seneca advance. Now the Mohawk cannot go, in order to reach there, they have to roll 5 or a 6, and they roll a 1, so they cannot get up there. So that stops them there. And I'm going to roll on the Seneca. And the Seneca will get pushed back with the +1 dice modifier. And I get this for pushing them back. I get another gun. So I think with my second gun, I am going to put it maybe right here with the Mohawk. And I will try and push the Mohawk back. Now, I didn't push them back initially. They were supposed to advance, but they have to beat that to advance. And since they did not, they could not. So on my turn, I'm going to try and push them back, and I don't do it. So even with the modifier, it's at 2. I had to get 4, 5, 6, so I end up losing the gun back into the trade shop. Next one, the Dutch. When the Dutch arrived in 1640, they established trade with the Iroquois, and the Iroquois were able to get guns. The French, though allied with the Huron, would not trade them guns. The Mohawk and the Seneca are going up, and my spirit goes down by 1. And the Mohawk and the Oneida are also going to be down 1. So the Mohawk and the Seneca move up. Again, we need to see if the Mohawk are actually going to move up there. And they roll a 2, so they cannot. The French are holding them off. That's doing me a lot of good there. For my 2 moves, I'm going to try and push the Seneca back, the +1 modifier, and I do. So 5 + 1 is 6. So my gun is working out great here. And I get a trade item, and I get a longhouse. So I'll put that there. And for my second turn, I think I will push the Cayuga back. They're just a 2, and I rolled a 6, so I do push them back, and I get a trade item, which is going to be another gun. And I think I'm going to use one of my supplies. So a supply, get an extra turn. These are free. And I'm going to move the Cayuga back again. And I roll the 1. So I don't move them back, and I do lose my first item in the trade shop. So I lose my blanket because I did not push them back. Those are my 2 terms. Next, trading. The Iroquois had expanded their hunting territories to satisfy their trading needs. By 1630, the Iroquois had become fully armed with European weaponry through trading with the Dutch. The Cayuga and the Oneida are going to move 2. The Cayuga are going to move 1. Spirit goes down 1. And supply goes down 1. Oneida is a +1 modifier. So I think I am going to push the Oneida back 1 with a +1 modifier. So 1 + 1 is a 2. I don't do it. So I'm going to lose my beaver, my trade item. I'm going to try the Oneida one more time. This time I do it. So I push them back, and I pick up a trade item. This time I grab a beaver. Next one. Number 9, the deck consists of 35 cards. I'm on card number 9. I'm trying to get through the deck without them reaching the Huron territory. New weapons. With their newfound weapons, the Iroquois attacked their traditional enemies, the Algonquins, the Mohicans, the Montagnais, and the Huron. This brought the French into the conflict with the Iroquois. The Mohawk are going to move 2, and the Oneida, there's no effect, and dice roll modifier +1 in Mohawk, Seneca, and Cayuga. So the Mohawk are going to move 2, but they got to get by the French first. And they don't, so they'll get a second try to go by the French. They don't do it. The Oneida will move ahead. And I think I'll push back the Cayuga. I get a +1 modifier. And 1 + 1, I don't do it, so I'm going to lose the Longhouse because I wasn't successful in pushing them back. I think I'll do the Cayuga again with a +1 modifier, maybe even with the Mohawk +1. Yeah, I think I'll try and move the Mohawk back this time. And it's a 2 + 1 is a 3, so I don't. So with the 2, you take the last item, so I lose my beaver. So losing all my stuff here because I wasn't successful. Next, beaver pelts. The expansion of the fur trade declined the beaver population. Because of the growing scarcity of beaver pelts, the Iroquois moved north to supplement their trade with the Dutch. The Mohawk and the Seneca are moving. Spirit and French aid are both going down. Now, my Spirit's on 0, so it's on 0. I only get 1 move, so I'm going to have to fix that first of all. Let's just see if the Mohawk are going to move. So the Seneca move. Will the Mohawk move? No, they will not. So again, the French holding them off. My first move is to improve the Spirit. I don't do it. I'm going to have to do it again on my second turn, and I do. Oh, but I can't. I don't get a second turn because it's at 0. So, yeah, so it's at 0. You only get the 1 turn. So that didn't work out very well. Next one, peace. The Mohawks moved to Trois-Rivières to propose peace with the French and their allied tribes and ask for a trading post in Iroquois. The French rejected their proposal. Cayuga and the Seneca. Oh, and I didn't stop the Seneca here. So the Seneca moved by my gun because I ran out of turns. And the Cayuga are moving also. Supply go up by 1. French aid go up by 1, but I only have 1 turn. So I am going to use my French aid, so that's a +2 modifier, to boost that up. I should have did it last time. So it is a 6, so I'll move that up. And now I have my 2 turns. My second turn, I'm going to move the Cayuga. I get a +1 modifier, so I'll move them. I do move them back, and I will pick up an item, trade item, and this time I pick up a beaver. Next card, disrupt trade. The Iroquois moved north and attacked the Huron to disrupt the Huron trade with the French. The Oneida and the Mohawk are both going to, now the Oneida are getting very close. Mohawk, we got to see if they can move. They're trying to beat the French. They still don't. So the French are holding them off. My Spirit is going up by 2, which is good. Supply goes down by 1. Modifier +1 on the Oneida, -1 on the Cayuga. So I'm going to have to take the Oneida out. I do get a +1 modifier. So 3 + 1 is 4. I will move them back and I'll get something from the trade shop. I pick up a blanket and I'm going to do the Oneida again. And I do. So I get a second item from the trade shop, and this time it is a blanket. So I have 2 blankets, 3 blankets, I can improve my supply. 4 blankets, I can pick up a gun. So I need 1 more, actually in 2 beaver and 2 blankets, I can get a gun icon. So that would give me 2 guns, so I can put another one on there. I got him with the Seneca back, so I can use this gun as an advantage. I can't use my extra turn because I'm at 0. Next turn, treaty. With multiple attacks north by the Iroquois, the French negotiated a treaty in 1645 to end the conflict with all parties. The French agreed to most of the Iroquois demands. The Oneida are moving 2 and the Mohawk 1. So the Oneida moving 2, Mohawk 1. See if they get up there, and they don't. They got to beat it, so the French hold them off again. All my resources go up by 1. Oneida are -1, Mohawk are -1. So I think I'm going to push I got to push the Oneida back, even though I've got a -1 modifier. I'm going to use my French aid, so that adds 2. So now I'm a +1 on the Oneida, and 2 + 1 is a 3. So I will move them back, and I get a trade item. I have a blanket, so I now have 3 blankets. I can improve my supply by 1, which would give me an extra turn, or if I hold out, get another blanket, I can get a gun, which I might just do. My second turn, I think I'm going to go with the Oneida again. -1 modifier. I think I am going to, yeah, I'm going to use French aid again. So it's going to be +1. And that will move back. That'll make it a 4. And I get my 6th item, which is a longhouse. So I have 1 gun, 1 longhouse, 1 beaver, 3 blankets. And I can bring them to the trade shop and trade them for different things. Right now, nothing's really appealing, so I'm just going to keep going. Card 14, the middleman. After the peace treaty in 1645, the Iroquois sent a fleet of 80 canoes to sell their furs in New France. The French refused to purchase the furs and told the Iroquois to sell them to the Huron, who would act as middlemen. The Iroquois were incensed by that. The Cayuga and the Seneca are both moving, so Seneca is getting close. Cayuga is also moving, no effect. Mohawk is +1. Seneca's +1. Maybe I'll move the Seneca back. They're a 4. I'm going to take 2 spirit and move up my French aid. And I'm going to use a French aid. So I'm going to get a +3 modifier on the Seneca. So 6 + 3, didn't need it, but I will push them back 1. I got 1 more turn. I should roll a red die my first turn and white die for my second turn. I guess I got to move. Yeah, the Cayuga are +1, so I'll move them back too. So I do move them back, and I pick up a trait. Did I get a trait for the Seneca? I don't think I did. So I do move the Cayuga back, and I get a longhouse. So I now have 2 longhouses. I can boost my morale or my spirit by 1. Yeah, I just realized I'm going to have to change this because they changed the term. So military is actually French aid. So, and morale is actually spirit. So I'll have to change that in the new game. All right, next one. 15, outrage. 1645, the Iroquois were outraged that the French wanted the Huron to act as middlemen for their furs, and the war resumed. Cayuga and the Mohawk are both moving. So Cayuga is on the way. Mohawk again. Got to see if they get, oh, they do get by the French. So the French are done. They're out of the game. As one of my, I still have the Montagne, the Algonquins, and the Ethamin to bring in if I want. I might just, or Etchamin, bring him in later on. I also have an ambush I can use. Might save the ambush. Maybe I'll do the ambush right now on the Mohawk. So I'm going to ambush the Mohawk in the mountains. I get 3 ambush during the game, and I'm going to go here. So plains, in the mountains you have a little bit more success than in the plains. Water is 50-50. So I'm going to ambush the Iroquois. Let's see what happens here. I rolled a 10. 10, Iroquois killed many Huron, unsuccessful attack. So my ambush did not work against the Iroquois. So that is 1 that is used up. My second turn, oh man. I think I'm going to try and move the Oneida back. They're a +1 modifier. And I rolled a 4, so I do move them back. And I pick up a beaver pelt. And for 2 beaver, I can increase my supply. 3 blankets. 3 blankets will also increase my supply. I can only have 11, so I'm starting to run out of room here a little bit. 30,000 warriors. The Huron and the Iroquois each had between 25,000 and 35 members, 1645. So the Seneca are going to advance and the Cayuga are going to advance. My supply goes up by 1. Now, Mohawk, Seneca, and Cayuga are all -1 modifiers, and this is too low. I think what I'll do is I am going to trade. Yeah. 3 beavers get me a gun. Actually, I'm going to do 2 beavers and 2 blankets and get a gun icon. So 2 blankets and 2 beavers. I'm going to trade them in, and I am going to get a gun icon. And I now have 2 gun icons, so I'm going to take the 1 and I'm going to put it right here as a +1 modifier. So these all move up. Now that's a free item doing this. For my first move, I'm going to put the Algonquin here. So they're going to set up a defense. So in order for the Seneca to move, they've got to beat the Algonquin. And I think I might even put, where should I put, the Montagne here is going to be my second move. So I can't push anybody back, but I had -1 modifier, so maybe that's the best time to place these guys. Next card, Mohawks. The Mohawks were the strongest tribe amongst the Iroquois, and they attacked Montreal and set up a blockade against the French. By 1650, they controlled the area. The Mohawk and the Seneca are each going to advance. Now, the Seneca must meet the +4 modifier. They're trying to beat the Algonquin. They get a 2, so they cannot advance, but the Mohawks certainly can. And -1 Cayuga, yikes, and -1 Mohawk. Oh, geez. Now, if I try and push him back and I don't get it, I lose an item. I do have these things as options. So the Huron, these are free actions. I get a reroll, then a +2, and then a free move back. But I have to do them in order, or I can try and change history, where the Huron actually buy the guns from the French, but I got to roll a 1, or a 1 and a 1-2. Again, you have to do it in order going up, but that's a long shot to try and roll a 1. I think when it gets desperate, you get a +1 modifier for the rest of the game if you can pull it off. So my 2 moves, I think I'm going to, I've got to move the Cayuga back, I think. So yeah, I'm going to try and move the Cayuga back. And I get a 4, -1 is a 3. So I will move them back because they're only at 2. And I will get a trade item. And it is a gun. And for my second move, I am going to maybe I'll move the Oneida back. Yeah, Seneca would be too hard with a 4. Let's move the Oneida back, and that will work. I should have moved the Seneca. I move him back, and I'll get a trade item, so I get a longhouse. I now have 3 longhouses, so I can add a +2 DRM to my next roll. So I think that's what I'm going to do next time. 18, Chief Canaquis. In January 1666, the French attacked the Iroquois and took Chief Canaquis prisoner. The Oneida and Cayuga are both going to advance. No effect, and -1 on the Cayuga and the Seneca as modifiers. So I think what I'm going to do is take my 3 longhouses and use them as a +2 modifier on the Cayuga. So that -1 and the +2 makes it just a +1 modifier. So +1, 4, I will move them back, and I will pick up a trade item. And I pick up a longhouse. And for my second move, I think I'll try and move the Mohawk. They don't have a modifier on them, and roll a 3, so I don't do it because they are a 3. They change as they go around. And if it's a 2 or 3, you lose the last item, so I lose my longhouse. Next one, Richelieu. In September 1666, the French proceeded down the Richelieu River and burned many Iroquois homes and crops. Many Iroquois died of starvation that winter. The Oneida and the Mohawk are both going to advance. Supply goes down by 1, and French aid goes down by 1, so that is at 0. So I don't have access to my free moves. So I don't have access to this or these. So I have my 2 moves. Mohawk is a +1. Seneca is a +1. Do I try and get that back up? Because these free moves are pretty handy. I think I'm going to do the Mohawk first. So +1 on the Mohawk. I rolled a 3 plus the 1 modifier. I do move him back. So he does go back, and I pick up a longhouse. And I think Seneca's +1. Maybe I'll take advantage of that. +1, and they're at the 4. I'll see if I can move them back. It's a 1, so I don't move them back. I will lose the blanket. That is my second turn. Next one, Alliance. By the late 1660s, the Iroquois stopped fighting amongst themselves and formed an alliance against the French and the Huron. The Cayuga and the Oneida will advance -1 spirit. So spirit goes down. Cayuga and the Oneida are going to advance. Now, Cayuga is a +1 modifier, so I'm going to try and fight them first. And I do, so I push them back. And I get a trade item, which is a blanket. And I think I'm going to try and move the... Yeah, I'm going to move the Cayuga back one more time. There we go. So I move them back a second time. I keep wanting to get my free items and my longhouse. So I don't have access to these, even though I'm getting them, because I don't have any moves. I can't actually use them yet. 21 raids. The Iroquois raids were not constant, but they terrified the inhabitants of New France. The Oneida and the Seneca are going to advance, and +1 spirit. So spirit goes up. The Oneida are going to advance, so we'll see if the Seneca can. They need to get a 5 or a 6 to defeat the Algonquin, and they do. So they move right up here. The Algonquin have been defeated by the Seneca. Oh man, all I got there is that gun to stop them. And I don't have my free items, so I can't really do anything. I don't have access to the free rolls. I'm going to have to move them back. And I do have my gun. But actually, I don't think I get the gun because that's a free item. So it's just a 2 to move them back. And I get a 4. So I do move them back. And I will pick up trade item. I can't use them because of this, and I think I got to move that up one. So my second turn, I do move it up. Now I have access to my free items, and I also have access to these free items, the Huron strategies. This is request aid from the French. I can re-roll and a +2 modifier, so I should probably take advantage of my re-roll because I can't access these two unless I do them in order. So I need to start using those free moves. 22, the guns. It's getting kind of hairy, but I'm still hanging in there. 1648, the Iroquois bought 400 guns directly from the Dutch and sent 1,000 warriors through the woods to Huron territory to launch a devastating attack. The Mohawk and the Oneida are both going to advance. Oh, the Oneida right on the doorstep. Spirit goes down by 1. And oh, the Mohawk and the Seneca and the Cayuga all have -1 modifiers. So let's move the Oneida first. And it's a 1. I am going to use this modifier here. So the French aid, I'm going to re-roll that die. So this is still my first turn. And I re-roll the die. I get a 2. I still don't push them back. So that's 1 turn being used. For my second turn, oh man, do I use this modifier? Because if I don't and they move next time, the game's over. I think I will use this modifier. So now I've moved it up where I got a free pushback. I'm going to use the +2 modifier on the Oneida. And oh, I rolled a 2, so I would have lost the last thing in my trade item. So +2 and a 1. Good thing I used it. That is a 3. So I will push them back, and I will get something from the trade item. And I pick up a beaver, and I have 2 longhouses, which will, I think I'm going to increase my spirit. So for 2 longhouses, increase your morale, your spirit. So I'm going to move these out, take advantage of it, move that up, just to keep it away from 0. I don't want to be wasting turns on those. Next one, 1648 raid. The raid of 1648 killed many Huron warriors, destroyed key villages, and allowed the Iroquois to take many Huron captive. The surviving Hurons fled. The Cayuga and the Seneca are going to advance. So the Seneca are there. The Cayuga are here. -1 supply. -1 French aid. So again, I can't access my free items. So I can't use this on the Seneca. Let's try and increase that French aid first. So I do increase it, so that moves up. And for my second turn, I will attack the Seneca. And a 2 plus the gun modifier is a 3, so I do push them back. And by pushing them back, I get a free item, and it is a blanket. So I have 2 blankets. I can't do anything with 2 blankets unless I have 2 beaver. I only have 1 beaver. We're on car 24. I got to get up to 35, but they're really knocking on the door. 24. Diseases took their toll on both the Huron and the Iroquois, and their populations drastically declined. The Mohawk and the Cayuga are advancing. So the Mohawk and the Cayuga, no effect on either one. So I'm going to push back the Mohawk. Can't really use these. Yeah, I'm going to push back the Mohawk. I get a 6, so I do, and I'll get a trade item, which is going to be a blanket. So I now have 3 blankets, so I can increase my supply, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of my 3 blankets. I'm going to move my supply, which is an extra turn. And for my second turn, I am going to, I think I'm going to push back the Cayuga. Yeah, I'm going to push back the Cayuga. It is a 3, so I do push them back. And I pick up another item. It is a longhouse. So those are my 2 turns. Next one. New enemy. In 1650, the Iroquois set their sights on the neutrals and completely drove the tribe from their traditional lands. The Mohawk and the Seneca are both advancing. So the Seneca and the Mohawk supply is going up. So I get an extra turn. I'll probably use that. Let's do the Seneca first at 2 plus my gun. Oh, I don't move them back. So I lose the gun because I lost that battle. And I also lose the gun here because it's the first item in the trade item. That hurts. Let's move the Seneca again. I do move them back, so I'll pick up a trade item. And I'm going to use a turn. This is a free turn to move the Mohawk back. And I do it. So they move back, and I pick up a longhouse. So I have 2 longhouses, which will increase my spirit by 1. 3 will get me a +2 DRM. I'm going to hang out for 3 longhouses, maybe get that +2 DRM if I can get 3 of them. 2 will improve my spirit by 1. Next one. The Erie tribe. In 1654, the Iroquois attacked the Erie tribe, but had less success. The Erie tribe had large numbers, and the war lasted 2 years. Despite being badly outnumbered, the use of the guns allowed the Iroquois to be victorious. The Cayuga and the Seneca are both going to advance, and I get French aid. So the Cayuga and the Seneca both advance. -1 Mohawk. Oh, +1 Seneca. So definitely going after the Seneca. And I do move them back. So I'll pick up a trade item for moving them back. And I got a gun, which is good. And for my second turn, these guys are getting really close. I think I'm going to go with the Oneida and try and push them back. Even though Seneca's a +1, it'd be nice to push them back to here so I can use my gun. Yeah, maybe I will. I'm going to try the Seneca. I need a 4 plus my +1 is a 5, so I do push them back. And I'll get a trade item. That was kind of risky, but if I can push him back one more, I can use the gun. I get another longhouse. So I have 3 longhouses, so I have a +2 DRM next time. So I think I'll be trading my longhouses to try and push the Seneca back even further. 27, Montreal, the 1660, the Iroquois continued their attacks on the French, raiding the settlements in Quebec and Montreal, killing many and taking others captive. All Iroquois advance. Oh, geez, but all my resources go up. So my resources go up, but all the Iroquois. Oh, geez. Okay, so I got the Montagne fighting the Cayuga. Let's see if they get by them. And they do not, so they will stay. They move, and they move. My modifiers, Mohawk, Seneca, and Cayuga are all +1. I'm going to have to use some of my supply to push them back. Let's do the Mohawk first. There are 2, and I will push them back. And I get a beaver. So I have 2 beavers. I can increase my supply. For my second turn, I got to move the Oneida back. So I'll move the Oneida back. I do move him back. I get another trade item, which is going to be a gun. Now I can put my 2 guns. I think I will. I'm going to turn in my 2 guns and put, I can increase my military by 1, which adds a +2 modifier, or I can keep this on the map at +1. I think I will. I'll put it here, and it stays there as long as I win. If I lose, it comes off the board. I think that was my 2 turns, so I gotta start using the dice. So many things going into your mind. You got to remember all the stuff you got to do. Next one. New regiment. The French, tired of the Iroquois, attacked their settlements, sent the Carignan Salinaire regiment of 1,000 regular troops from France to deal with the Iroquois. The Oneida and the Mohawk are both advancing, and my spirit's going to go up by 1. And so +1 on the Mohawk, but Seneca's -1, Cayuga is -1. So I'm going to go for the Mohawk and the Oneida. Let's do the Mohawk first with the +1. 2 + 1 is a 3, so I do move them back. Get an extra piece here. I have a beaver. So now I have 3 beaver. I can purchase a gun. I think I will. I'm going to get rid of these 3 beaver. And I am going to get a gun for 3 beaver. And I will put the gun right here. And I'll use that to push the Oneida back. And a 1 + a 1 is a 2. So I don't push him back. And I lose number 1, which this would have moved up here. So I'm going to lose a longhouse, which would have been my +2 modifier. I lose the gun because I lost the war. Now, if Oneida comes up, I'm going to have to use a supply. And I'm going to use French aid. These are both free. So French aid is a +2 modifier. Supply is a free turn. So I got to move them back or I'm going to lose. So I will move them back. I'll pick up a gun for moving them back. Do I use another free turn? I also have these guys. The Etchemin. I think I'll put the Etchemin here to try and stop the Mohawk from getting there. I can also ambush them, but if you ambush in the plains, it's not as good. That was my 2 turns, so we'll see. We're getting close. I'm close to winning, but they're also close to moving on. Armed Hurons. The Carignan Salinaire regiment started selling guns to the Huron and the Algonquin tribes to help against the Iroquois, the Mohawk, and the Seneca. So the Mohawk have got to beat the Etchemin to move by. They need higher than a 3 to advance. They get a 4, so they kill the Etchemin their first time. So the Etchemin are done. And the Seneca advance. I think I'm going to move the Seneca back. I got a +1 with my gun. They're only a 2, so that will push them back. I'll pick up a trade item for pushing them back. I got a blanket. And I got to move the Mohawk back. So I'm going to use the supply. And I'm going to use French aid to move the Mohawk back. And that is a 4. So that is going to move them back. And I'll pick up another item. And I got 3 longhouses. So 3 longhouses. I can add 2 RM to my next roll, which I think I will do. So I'll cash those in. 35 cards left, and I might win this. The Dutch lose the colony. The Dutch lost their colony of the New Netherlands to the English, and the European support for the Iroquois wanted. The Mohawk and the Oneida are both going to advance, so they're both on my doorstep. Oh, -2 French aid, -1 supply. Oh no. Oh, and a -1 modifier with all my Iroquois. So I don't have any extra turns, and I can't add my DRM. I can use my free move from the French to push 1 back. I think I'm going to have to. So I'm going to use my last free aid from the French. I'll push the Mohawk back. I'll use 2 spirit. Oh, I can't use any free moves. Oh, I can't use any free moves. So I cannot push them back because I don't have access to my free moves. Oh, I have 2 turns. So if I use this to move that up, that would be 1 turn. I could move, or I could just move them both back. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to try and bring up the French aid, which I do. So I bring that up. That's my first move. So now I can use my free moves. So with my free move, I am going to use my free pushback of an Iroquois army. So I am all done using up all my aids from the French. So I'll push back the Mohawk. So that is 1 turn. For my second turn, I'm going to take 2 spirit to bring up the French aid, and I'll use 1 French aid to push back the Oneida. So +2 on them, and I get a 5. I didn't even need it. So I push them back, and I get a free thing, and I get a blanket. So I now have 3 blankets, and I'm going to turn in my 3 blankets to increase my supply. So 1, 2, 3, that goes in the box. So that is going to go back. Oh, and lose 1 spirit for each turn. It was at 0. So I think that goes down to 2. This will move up. Let's see here. Those are my 2 moves. We're going on to the next one. Partial peace. The Onondaga, Seneca, and Cayuga reached a peace settlement with the French, but the Mohawk and the Oneida remained unwilling to settle for peace. The Mohawk and the Oneida are going to advance. So the Mohawk and the Oneida keep coming at me. My resources all go up by 1, which is good. No adjustment on the DRM. So I think, do I save this? Let's just try it. Let's move the Mohawk back. A 4, so I do move them back. And I get a beaver. And the Oneida, I'm going to move back. And I do. And I will pick up a beaver. I might just change that to a 3 so the Mohawk are a little stronger coming in. 3 cards left. This is still pretty challenging. The Cayuga and the Seneca are going to be moving in. Invasion force. 1667, the French sent an invasion force of 1,300 men to attack the Mohawk villages. The villages had been abandoned and the longhouses and the crops were destroyed. So the Cayuga, now the Cayuga have the Montagne there, so they will defeat the Montagne. So they are done. So I'm running out of all my options. I do have an ambush I can try. The Cayuga and the Seneca are on the doorstep. The Mohawk is a +1. Seneca is a +1. I might change that to a 3-2 for, we'll see how it goes. Let me know your opinion. I think I'll move the Seneca first. I do move them back. Oh, and I had the gun modifier too. So I have a beaver. So I have 3 beavers. So I can purchase a gun. So I'm going to get rid of these 3 beavers. And I'm going to get a gun. So I will put the gun on the Mohawk. So the 3 beavers go towards the Mohawk. And I am going to... I got to push back the Cayuga. And I'm going to use my 3 longhouses. So 3 longhouses gives me a +2 DRM. So I'm going to use 3 longhouses to push them back. So good thing I did, because I wouldn't have done it. So I push them back and I get one item back. I get a blanket. And for my second turn, I am going to push back. I think I'm going to push back Seneca's +1, the Mohawk are +1. I think I'm going to push back the Cayuga. And I do push them back, so I pick up another item. And it's a beaver. I got 2 cards left. I think I might end up winning this one. Late 1667, the Mohawk and the Oneida reached a peace settlement with the French. The Seneca and the Cayuga are both going to advance. -1 spirit. And whoa, so the Oneida is a -1. I'm going to use this to pump that from a -1 to a +1. I'm going to move the Oneida. Oh, I don't do it. So I fail on the first attempt. I got to try again on the Oneida. This time I don't. If I put this down here, I don't have any free moves. Let's try it. Oh, what do I do? Oh, I want these free moves. This gives you an extra turn. I'm going to do the Oneida. And it's a 3, so I do push him back. And I was just going to use my extra turn. I get a longhouse. That's not going to help. And we'll go to the next card. Go west, young man. After peace with the French in 1667, the Iroquois went west to conquest the lands held by the Algonquins. The Algonquins had larger numbers but lacked firearms. All Iroquois advance, +1 French aid, but I do get plus modifier, so everybody's moving up. Oh, they're all close to the doorstep. I can only push. Oh no, I got a supply. Let's start with this. Let's start with the Oneida. I get a +1 modifier in the Oneida, and I push them back. Good. So I get an extra item, and I get a longhouse. So I have 2 longhouses. That will increase my morale by 1, or my spirit by 1. My second move has got to be the Cayuga, and I do have a +1 modifier on the Cayuga, so that will work. I'll push them back, and I get a longhouse. So I have 3 longhouses. I will use that for a +2 modifier, and I'll use my extra turn to push back the Seneca, and that will work. So they go back, and I'm moving on to my last card. I think I'm going to win this. All of them are going to advance, so they all get super close, but nobody gets in. The Iroquois pushed the Lakota tribes from their lands, and the Lakota adopted a nomadic lifestyle for which they became known later. Iroquois all advance, -1 spirit, -1 French aid, -1 supply, so I'm all drained out. -1 modifier on the Iroquois, so good thing they weren't close, because I made it just in time. So I ended up winning this one. So that was great fun. This is the Iroquois versus the Huron, the Beaver Wars. It's a new State of Siege game. I think if I was to make one change to the game, I'd change this to a 3 and this to a 3. My play testing, it never came out before, but let me know what you think in the comments. But that was fun. That was a close game right down to the end. Talk to you later, folks.